Ferrari just did something no other team on the grid has done this season. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton drove the new Madraing circuit in a current-spec F1 car, the SF26, months before a single other team turns a wheel there. Every team preparing for the Spanish Grand Prix in Madrid has done so without any on-track running at the venue, except Ferrari. On paper, this was labeled a filming day, a term that usually signals marketing content rather than competitive advantage. But teams do not spend one of only 2 allotted filming sessions per year on something without purpose. To understand why this matters, it helps to know exactly what a filming day is under the regulations. Teams are allowed 2 per year, governed by sporting regulations, and each one comes with strict limits. There is a hard cap of 200 kilometers of total running. Cars are restricted to demonstration tires, which are significantly slower than race compounds. There is no setup experimentation allowed, no qualifying simulations, and no real testing program built into the session. On the surface, this looks like a non-event, which is exactly why most fans dismissed it the moment it was announced. The reality is more complicated than the surface suggests. Even under these restrictions, a modern Formula One car functions as a full sensor package on wheels. It captures steering inputs, brake temperatures, suspension movement, GPS positioning through every corner, and direct driver feedback. Every team already possesses a digital model of Madraing built from laser scans, CAD data, and GPS surveys. But simulations cannot replicate everything. There is a gap that Northwest digital model can close: real tarmac grip levels, bump profiles under load, and the actual forces generated by banked sections of track. This is precisely what Ferrari's filming day corrects. It gives the team real data to refine suspension setup direction, ride height decisions, differential settings, and energy deployment estimates. The payoff here is not about lap time. It is about accuracy in setup direction before the car ever arrives at the circuit for a race weekend. There is also a regulatory angle that explains why Ferrari could do this at all when nobody else has. Formula One operates under testing of previous cars, or TPC, rules, which block regular testing at any circuit that did not host a Grand Prix the previous year. Madraing did not race last year, which means normal testing is off-limits to every team on the grid. However, filming days are not classified as TPC running, so no venue restriction applies to them. This is not an accident or an oversight. Ferrari effectively read the rulebook more precisely than its rivals and found a legal window that others either missed or chose not to use. The financial side of this decision matters just as much as the regulatory one. Madraing, as the race promoter, covers the costs of the session, not Ferrari. Under Formula One's cost cap rules, this distinction is significant. Promoter-funded running does not eat into Ferrari's budget the way self-funded testing would. In practical terms, this means Ferrari obtained current specification car data at the new venue essentially for free, without drawing down resources that would otherwise be allocated elsewhere under the cap. There is a driver-side benefit as well.
Ferrari's fastest version has not even arrived yet. Subscribe to the channel.
Now have braking reference points established in advance, along with a physical sense of how the car behaves over curbs and elevation changes at racing speed. This builds what amounts to a mental map of the track before FP1 even begins. It will not translate into raw lap time gains, but it does reduce the uncertainty that typically defines a driver's first laps at an unfamiliar circuit. To fully grasp why this specific choice was significant, the return on investment logic needs context. This was Ferrari's second and final filming day of the 2026 season, with the first having taken place at Monza ahead of the Miami Grand Prix. Ferrari could have used this second and last session at a track the team already understands well, such as Fiorano. Instead, the team chose the one venue on the calendar that nobody currently understands. The logic is straightforward: a known circuit teaches a team nothing new, while an unfamiliar venue with a genuinely unique feature produces information that no other team on the grid currently has. It is important to be precise about what this session did not achieve, because the gains here are real but limited. There was no race-spec setup work completed, no tire development conducted, no qualifying simulation run, and no strategy testing performed. The realistic gain from this exercise sits at roughly 1 to 2/10 of a second, not the half-second improvement that some might assume. In a grid where qualifying gaps are frequently measured in hundredths of a second, that margin is not trivial. It can be the difference between starting from the front 2 rows or further back on the grid. Understanding the significance also requires understanding the circuit itself. Madraing is built around the IFEMA Exhibition Center near Madrid's airport, combining a purpose-built section of track with sections that run along public roads. The circuit measures 5.4 kilometers with 22 corners. Turn 1 follows a 589-meter straight into heavy braking, with cars slowing from roughly 320 km per hour to 100 km per hour, and it has been flagged as an overtaking zone. Turn 3, named Hortaliza, is a fast right-hander that leads onto a straight of more than 800 meters, where top speeds reach approximately 340 km per hour. Before the circuit's signature corner sits a chicane known as Los Tic. The defining feature of the entire track is Turn 12, called La Mantral, a 550-meter banked corner with approximately 24 banking, taken at 280 to 300 km per hour, producing around 6 seconds of sustained lateral load. This is the steepest banking found anywhere on the current Formula One calendar. The exit of this corner has been identified as a third overtaking opportunity on the circuit. The layout continues through a fast, flowing sequence near the Real Madrid training complex before finishing with a technical section through the IFEMA grounds that leads back onto the main straight. None of this changes the fundamental restriction that governed the entire session. Ferrari covered only 200 kilometers on demonstration tires, gathered no setup optimization data in the traditional sense, and ran no simulation of race or qualifying conditions. What the team did gain is a real, physical dataset from a track that every rival will only know through simulation until the race weekend itself begins. This is not a story about 200 kilometers of restricted, tightly controlled running. It is a story about how a top Formula